Hey guys, we're in a series called For the One. Now, during this entire series, we're talking about the one. Who is the one? It's the people that Jesus misses most. This is the most important series we could do all year long. And the whole church is doing it. Kids, students, adults, we're all doing it because that's why LCBC exists. Is we exist to reach out to the person that's far from Jesus. We focus on every single person that is far from Jesus, and we want to work to connect them with Jesus. And that's what this whole series is about. Today, we're going to talk about your part, your role in reaching out to the person that's far from God. Now, first, let's talk about friends. Do you have friends? We all have friends, right? At least some acquaintances or some kind of friend. But the better the friend, the more you have to kind of be there for them. And it can sometimes be awkward, uncomfortable, painful to be there for your friend, but we do it because we're good friends. A good example of this is helping them move. Now, as you guys get older, I want to warn you that you will be invited to help people move. What, by the way, and that invitation, if you say no to it, you're a bad friend. You have to say yes. There is no choice. So I have helped dozens of my friends move. I hate it, but I am a good friend, so I do it. I have helped them move on hot July days where it's like moving on the surface of the sun. I have helped them move in what feels like the Arctic Circle, and I have helped them move when they were completely unprepared. I had one friend, I stopped by his apartment, and I realized on moving day, he had packed nothing. Like nothing. His entire library, he's starting to put into boxes. He's like, hey, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm like, you're kidding me. I knew I was going to be there for a week and a half. I moved that man. I also helped him get his couch out of the balcony. We lowered a couch that was the size, shape, and color of a rhinoceros over the balcony with poles trying to lower it to the ground. It ended up falling on the picnic table, crushing the picnic table. The picnic table did not have a chance. And we did it all because I would do anything for a friend. And I bet you would too. How many of you have ever seen a friend in need and you raised up to help them? Maybe they were having a sad day. Maybe they needed lunch money. Maybe you just wanted to support them by inviting them to something, whatever it might have been. But we are there for our friends. We stick up for our friends, no matter what. There used to be this saying that I would jump in front of a train for you. Now, we don't see a lot of trains in our daily lives these days, so it's not as common of a saying. And it kind of made me think, as I was processing that, I was like, would I jump in front of a train for my friends? And I was like, yeah, I would. So I want to give you this analogy. So imagine you and your friends are by a train. Now, this doesn't have to be like a 1870s locomotive, like toot toot. No, I'm talking about like Amtrak or like Subway. You know, maybe you've been to a big city and you know that you're walking on a platform and down below is like the Amtrak or the Subway tracks and they're electrified. Now, I want you to imagine, so like actually think of you and a really close friend walking along the side of this corridor beside the tracks. Now, you're walking, and I want you to imagine that as you're goofing off and talking and laughing, that your friend, not paying attention, stumbles and falls over onto the tracks. Pretty scary, right? So how many of us would do anything to get our friend off those tracks? We'd be like, dude, get off the tracks. Now, what if your friend responded with like, I'm okay, man. I like it down here. As a matter of fact, I don't see any train. Let's just keep walking. And you're like, you know that a train will be here either a day, a week, a month, or a couple minutes away, a couple seconds away. But when that train comes, it will destroy them. And you're like panicking. You're like, get up. And your friend's like, nah. Or for some of us, we go like our friend says nah, and we go like, okay, I guess they just want to be on the tracks. Now, what if you have this? What if you have a ladder? What if you actually have a ladder in your possession? I don't know why you're walking by trains with a ladder, but you are. And you walk by the tracks, your friend falls over, and you have a ladder to save him. And you go, you know something? I really love my friend, and I would do anything for my friend, but it would be really awkward to invite them to step on this ladder. So I'm going to let them on the tracks. What? Or maybe we're like, you know something? Like, I don't know, they seem happy on the tracks. Maybe this ladder's just for me. We would never do this. Why? Because we're good friends. We would share this ladder. We would be like, get up. And we would stop at nothing until that friend was safely off the tracks. Now, I know you guys are really smart. You guys get where I'm going. For many of our friends that have not accepted Jesus, they're basically walking their life on the tracks. They're facing eternity someday. And without Jesus, sin separates us from God. It does. Any sin, all sin separates us from God. We need someone to pay for that sin, and only Jesus can do it. And so many of us have accepted Jesus' gift of his death on the cross. We've accepted Jesus as our Savior, and he's kind of like the ladder that has brought us safety. But for so many of us, we forget that only Jesus can save our friends, and we forget that that's important. We forget that they're in danger. We forget that they're facing an eternity, a forever without God, an eternity, a forever without heaven, an eternity, a forever in hell. So I hope you hear me, that telling someone about Jesus has an eternal impact, a forever impact. When you share your faith, when you share what Jesus Christ has done, when you invite someone else to experience life-saving truth, you are offering them a ladder that will get them out of harm's way forever. Guys, I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's a neighbor, a friend, a family member, but you know someone right now. There's someone in your life that is far from God. There's someone on your life on the tracks that desperately needs Jesus Christ, their Savior, and you might be the only connection they have to have him. You're the one with the ladder. You gonna be selfish with it? It reminds me of this story about true friendship. See, there was this story in the book of Mark about these two friends that had another friend that was paralyzed. And this guy couldn't walk, he couldn't move. I didn't say that, but I have a feeling he was paralyzed from the neck down because they carried him on a cot. And so these two friends knew that Jesus Christ was going to be in town. He was there, and crowds of people had gathered around him. And he actually went into a small house, and these two guys with their friend knew that if they could just get their friend to Jesus, he would heal them. But there was too many crowds, and Jesus was too far away. So what did the two guys do? Did they go like, all right, let's take him home. We tried. Sorry, dude. No. They knew that my friend needs Jesus. So they took the man on the cot, they found a back alley, they climbed to the top of the roof of the building Jesus was in, and they started smashing the roof that Jesus was in and ripped open a hole and lowered their friend down, and they were like, Jesus, you gotta save this guy. We love him. You gotta rescue him. You gotta heal him. Jesus looked up to them and said, your faith has saved your friend. How well do you love your friends? How well do you love your neighbors, your teammates? Well, that's the question. Are you willing to use Jesus Christ? Are you willing to share Jesus Christ with your friends? So here's what I want to do. We're going to do something different that we've not done in over a decade at LCBC. We're going to do one moment where all of us on all the campuses over all of student ministry and all of Collide are going to do something at the same time. We are going to commit to our friend. We're going to commit by writing a friend's name down on a ladder just like this. And we have one on every single campus. And you're going to get a Sharpie or a marker. And what I want you to do is I want you to prayerfully, I want you to let Jesus search your heart and soul and name that one kid, that one person, that one family member that you know is far from Jesus. And I want you to think long and hard that it is your job to help save them. It's your job to introduce them to Jesus. And I want you, in a few moments, you're going to get directions on how to take that Sharpie and you're going to go up to the ladder and I want you to write that person's name. That is not to acknowledge, yes, I have someone in my life. That is to acknowledge I will do something about that person in my life. I am not just asking you to say, yes, I have that friend. I am saying do something about it. And maybe for you, it's like, I don't know how to share my faith real well. Cool, then invite them to church. And if they say no, do it again. And if they say no, invite them to camp. And if they say no to that, invite them to the event. If they say no to that, invite them to your church, to your house, and watch Collide together. But do something. I sound panicky because I am. Because I have people in my life, guys. I have people in my life, guys, that right now, spiritually, they're on the tracks. And they need Jesus. So will you join me in being focused, diligent, stop at nothing, and show the world that I am a good friend, and that's why I share Jesus. We love you guys. Have an amazing experience.